And we are live. Welcome, alienated parents, grandparents, alienated children, doctors, professionals, lawyers, anyone out there that's listening. Welcome to Let's Talk Real Talk show with our special guest. Today we have Melissa Strawn from California. Um, she resides in California, but her family court case is in Washington. And Melissa has one of the most clear-cut cases of judicial fraud. The King County Superior Court Judge, Judge E. Aramini Merced, held her divorce trial without Melissa being there while she was in the hospital with pneumonia. Then the judge signed orders fraudulently stating that Melissa was at the trial. So Judge Ramini granted sole custody to her ex-husband, despite him being legally barred from the kids for the last 3 years. Her ex used easily provable fraud at the trial. Melissa is a CEO of a startup company, My People Now, a respected member of the female founder community, and was accredited investor, focusing on women-led companies. And now, all for breaking free from her abuser, she is about to be jailed, stripped of her children and home. Tomorrow is her day that she has to go meet with the courts. And so Melissa is not just fighting her ex-husband anymore. There is a corrupt judge who is trying to hurt Melissa before she can expose her. So welcome, Melissa. Thank you for joining us here on Let's Talk. This is truly a horrific situation to be in. I mean, it's bad enough we get falsely arrested and taken at that time, but you're now being threatened to go to jail while you're out with your children at home. You basically have your children. You've raised them because your ex-husband wasn't allowed to be near them, but he's now got them.
No,
Is that
they are still with me, but the purpose of the arrest threat is so that the kids can be forcibly taken.
okay? So, Melissa, I want you to start your story from the beginning, and let our viewers know how you got into this kind of a situation, because we all know family court is corrupt. They're trying to make it so that we don't catch them, but I mean, it's evident because we all know our own stories and no one could tell us any different. So tell us how it all started.
Yeah, so I was in a abusive relationship for several years. Every time I did try and flee the relationship and leave, it was the same story: cut off the money, destabilize my housing, threaten to take the kids away.
Can I
And that
stop you
worked.
for a second? Can I
Yeah.
stop you? If you could speak a little slower, we're picking up a lot of feedback here. I'm not sure if it's because I'm shadow banned or whatever, but yes, your voice is coming in robotic. So
Oh,
go
okay.
slower, okay?
Yeah. So I was in an abusive relationship. I had tried to leave that relationship many times throughout 7 years. But every single time I tried to leave, my ex had the same playbook, which was to cut off my access to any money, destabilize my housing, and then threaten to take the kids. And so that worked time and time again. I went back. It reached a point, though. I have really severe health issues. I've had 10 surgeries. And it reached a point where the abuse and the pattern and everything was so horrible that it was very clear I was going to die, literally, if I stayed any longer. Um, I'd say, yeah, about 2 weeks before I left, I was rushed into emergency surgery where they had to cut all the way down my abdomen. and remove parts of my intestines. I was 96 pounds. My ex would lock me in a closet for sometimes 3 to 5 days at a time and withhold food and water, and sexually assault me. And so by the time I had that emergency surgery, I was on the verge of dying. I mean, I literally almost died in that surgery. So I had that was clear as day. I had a conversation with him, and said I can't do this anymore. And I remember this was the very only time that he acknowledged the abuse. He would always previously gaslight me or blame me, but he acknowledged the abuse, and he told me that he couldn't promise that it wouldn't happen anymore. And he said that he was willing to let me go and that we could part. And so we came up with a plan. And I mean, looking back, I was so naively trusting. I was like, wow, he's actually acknowledging it. He's telling me, he can't promise, he can't stop, blah blah blah. He's letting me go. But what was really going on behind the scenes is that we had been renting the house that we were living in from his very, very wealthy parents, and his parents had told him that I had to move out. So my ex agreed to let me go. We spent 2 months um, by, helping. He spent 2 months helping me buy a house in California. We made up a plan to do a trial separation, and said that we weren't going to talk for 3 to 6 months. All that stuff. And so I moved out on August 29th, 2022, and moved into my new home the next day. And within 2 hours, the police showed up with allegations of kidnapping the children. And so I showed them the kids' birth certificates. I, was validly confused. I said, my ex just helped me buy this house. What do you mean kidnapped from who? So that was strange. My ex pretended like he had no idea what that was about. But the police left. They sent CP.
Oh, we froze there. Okay. This happened. Sorry,
Son,
we
and
froze.
then they
We
don't mind.
froze. We froze. So you're gonna have to go back about 10 seconds.
Okay. So, so essentially the police and CPS left, and we went on our merry way. This is September 2022. A few days after that, a huge deadly wildfire broke out in Weed, California. It was called the Mill Fire. We fled that fire, and that's when I made the um, big mistake of calling my ex's parents to inform them that the kids were safe. And that backfired big time because my ex had been telling them one story, well, telling me a different story. And once his parents found out that I had left, um, all bets were off, and it felt like just being terrorized from then on out. Um, so I guess fast forward a little bit, a couple months by November, my ex's parents had sent me dozens of harassing emails. They moved into the home in Washington with my ex, and essentially have been driving this effort to destroy me ever since then. Um, so by November, my ex had sent me a message saying, "Well, why don't I come down to Weed and we can get a hotel and catch up?" And I thought that would be like a death wish. So I talked to the DV advocate folks in Siskiyou County, and I stayed in their shelter, and they helped me apply for a domestic violence protection order. That's something that I had never wanted to do. I was afraid to do, but it got to a point where I didn't know what else to do. If he was going to come down to where I was, I literally didn't know what else to do. So I got that protection order. Um, After 8 months of that case being in California, The judge ultimately said, look, I believe you that abuse occurred, but I don't have the ability to enter a long-term protection order because the abuse that you alleged happened in Washington, not in California.
Oh, wow.
So that order ended, but I worked with advocates in Washington, in King County, Washington, and they helped me file for a protection order up there, and that was granted. Um, and we litigated that for 4.5 months, and I proved the abuse. I had filed over 100 pages of evidence refuting my ex's entire story. In short, he had held a gun to my head in 2016 when I was pregnant with the twins, um, and because I had refused to have an abortion. Um, and my then 14-year-old walked in on him pointing a gun at my unconscious body. I had reported that to the police, but not his name. I had tried to leave back then, but same thing, after being homeless for a month, I went back. So this was an ongoing pattern. But I thought in November of 2022, November 29th, 2022, the commissioner in King County Superior Court granted a final protection order. They made findings that my ex used a firearm in the commission of a felony against me. And I thought, okay, everything's going to get easier from here now, right?
Mhm.
I did what I was supposed to do. I proved the abuse. My ex never appealed the order. He never asked for a reconsideration or a revision, never challenged it, never asked for it to be ended. And I realize now, looking back, that that was part of his plan, right? Um, because we'll get into that a little bit later, but essentially, he had filed for divorce in December of 2022 in King County. It was determined that the case would be kept in Washington. Washington had jurisdiction over the kids and all that. So as we're, chugging along and dealing with the divorce case, again, he never challenged the protection order. The order was renewed December of last year. My ex told the court that he wanted to reconcile. The judge, essentially, there's been this one, my case has been handled or touched by about a dozen judicial officers. I feel like it was handled very fairly. They reviewed the evidence. They decided in my favor. But there's been one judge who, all throughout this process, I could tell she did not agree that I was a domestic violence survivor at all. But she renewed the order. I mean, there's some nuance to that. I think she renewed it because she knew that I would file an appeal if she didn't. But she renewed it in a way where she set my ex up to prevail at trial. Made all these unsubstantiated findings in the order, retained jurisdiction over it, and essentially, I was forced to do the renewal in a 4-hour mini trial versus how renewals are typically handled. It's typically like a 15-minute hearing, and that's it. But so I knew that she was always treating me differently. So anyway, we get to what was supposed to be the first day of trial in March of this year, and myself and the kids had gotten mononucleosis. And so I had submitted something to continue the hearing right away. But it was clear when I showed up on that first day of what was supposed to be trial, there was this huge vibe in the courtroom where it was clear that I was like on the defense, if you will. So I think one would anticipate that if you're showing up to your divorce trial, that at least the judge is there to hear the facts and see the evidence and hear the parties and make an objective ruling. But it was extremely clear from the get-go, like, almost as if I had shown up to my own murder trial or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, I had to beg for a continuance. It didn't matter how much medical evidence I showed. I just recently got the transcripts actually from all of these pleadings. The judge mocked my disability. I had ADA accommodations. She said that I was exaggerating. And so it's like we're talking about someone who, again, I've had 10 surgeries, have bona fide documented disabilities. Um, why would I be treated as right out the gate as though I'm lying about that? That it doesn't make any sense.
No.
But I was. So she granted a continuance finally to June, and there were all these other issues with that would take forever to explain. But essentially, by June, I had not only gotten a reactivation of mono, but I had been diagnosed with pneumonia. And I submitted evidence of that. And again, the transcripts show that she mocked this as if I was making this up, like discussing some kind of medical manipulation, and just absolutely insane, in my opinion. But I also want to point out real quick that by then, the Washington Court of Appeals had granted a hearing for a motion for discretionary review. They were already set to rule on or hear my allegations of judicial bias and misconduct, abuse of discretion on June 30th. So, in my opinion, the reason why the judge was so mad at the beginning of June when I got pneumonia is that she really, really needed to enter final orders in order to get the Court of Appeals to remove that hearing. And she did. In short, she denied my continuance. I submitted 54 pages of medical evidence, doctor's notes, MD notes, hospital records, x ray records, lab records. My primary care provider had said my CRP levels were through the roof, 20x the max limit. He said that my life was in danger. And I was treated like I was lying about all of that because it didn't serve her purpose. So if you ask me, by then her mind was made up. She needed me to lose at trial. She was just pissed off that there was a valid medical reason for me to not be there. So long story short, she held the trial in my absence. I repeatedly, I'll give you an example. I had submitted, I think on June 7th, a motion to continue the trial, and she rejected it, saying that I didn't provide enough medical evidence. So I turned around and I provided all of the medical evidence, 54 pages. And she denied it, saying, well, if she's well enough to submit the evidence, then she must not really be sick. So they put me in a trap. It was a circular reasoning. First, you're lying because you don't provide enough. Now we don't believe you because you did provide enough. Essentially, it was put in a lose-lose situation where there was nothing I could have said at all. So at that trial, let me be clear: no evidence, no witnesses, no sworn testimony from my side. Entirely one-sided trial with my abuser. Um, and they literally wiped the floor and completely reversed 2.5 years of litigation. So, to give you an idea of how extreme these final orders are, and by the way, my abuser's attorney drafted the orders entirely. Okay. I had objected to that multiple times in the past, and her answer was, well, I have 400 cases. It's totally reasonable that opposing counsel could draft orders. Well, why couldn't I draft them? Um, so to give you an idea of what my ex won at this one-sided trial, where she fraudulently puts in the orders that I was at trial when the minutes, transcripts, and hospital records prove that I was not. She ordered that I had to immediately sell my sole and separate out-of-state home, thus granting my assured homelessness, while my ex gets to continue living in a paid off $3.5 million mansion. I'm ordered to my homelessness. She grants my ex sole custody. Washington courts are forbidden from entering punitive custody orders, right? They have to be in the children's best interest. Yet, why would I be barred from having any contact with kids that I had just successfully and safely raised for almost 3 years? Um, Granted that I have no vehicle. My ex's attorney claimed that I left Washington with 3 vehicles. Um, no, I left with one. I can only drive one car. Um, so no vehicle, no house, no kids, no credibility, and all that, right? So these orders are scorched earth, and they were filled with enforcement traps. The orders say under no circumstances can Miss Strawn have the kids after July 1st, but my ex never even tried to get the kids before July 1st. So I'm being now threatened with contempt tomorrow simply because I physically had the kids. So essentially, unless I was going to drop my kids off on the side of the road, of course I was going to have the kids. He never came to get them. He never asked to get them. So it was, again, loaded with enforcement traps. I have an active appeal in good standing. The Court of Appeals has all the transcripts, the clerk's papers. I have an appellate attorney. I have submitted an emergency motion to stay. Um, Obviously, the judge is biased. This is not an objective tribunal as Washington state guarantees. So I don't know what else I could have done, but I'll tell you, this was quite the shock because I guess I stupidly really believed in the system. I thought if I just show up, I learn the rules, I present the truth, I present the evidence, that the court would stick to their own rules and law, but they have not. So essentially, if I had to sum it up, this judge hates my guts and needs to destroy me because I reported her misconduct. And that's punitive. You don't
That's
take someone's kids and house because they're trying to hold you accountable to the law. It's shameful. It's disgusting. Um, and I have reached out to every oversight committee, the governor, every DV organization, everything you can imagine. And at the end of the day, I can tell you the fox is either guarding the hen house or the whole thing is just so corrupt that nobody wants to actually hear the truth.
Well, that's it. And you say, um, it's not just you that they pull the wool over your heads. I mean, we're all going through it. This is not just, you know, a singled out family like you that is targeted. It's millions out there. So these judges are trying to silence everybody, but to silence you to the point where they want to put you in jail. I mean, how many women in the States now have been incarcerated? You got Cardi, we have, oh wow, it just rolled off my tongue, but there's two other women right now in the United States that have been incarcerated in the last month. And we have David Weigel out there fighting for these, women that are incarcerated for no reason, for loving their children. I mean, seriously. So these judges who are doing this to us, I mean, I went to prison twice, and then 19 years later, they tried to get me to go to prison again. And I'm thinking, no, you can't be doing this. I mean, this is a lifetime of torture, what they're doing. People in prison have better rights than we do out here. They get to have their children visit them in jail. Meanwhile, here we are loving our children, and they're taking us away from the children. It's not that they're taking the children anymore. They're taking us away from them, which is easier to take one person than having 3, 4, 5 screaming children. Don't take my mommy. Don't take, like it's just, who knows what's in their heads these days. They're so money hungry that they don't care whose children they abuse, which adult they abuse, a grandmother, grandparents out there too are suffering because obviously your mom doesn't get to see the kids or, you know, to be with the kids if he has them. He'll take them from them too, right? So
Yes,
he's starting to alienate, like those are alienating tactics that they use to get rid of you.
absolutely. It's Once I discovered the term parental alienation, it was really new to me. I discovered that term probably about a year ago. And I did what I would consider to be I alienation proofed my case. And legitimately so, because I've never asked for my ex to never be able to see the kids. I simply wanted to not be killed. Um,
Right.
and that's what was promised to me is if you ever report the abuse, I will destroy you. So
Yeah.
what's really sad is I had a meeting with an attorney yesterday, and I told her, I said, if there was any hope or wish that we could co-parent, I've been divorced once before. We co-parented. Those kids are now adults. You know, we did what was best for the kids. We went on with our lives. It's easy peasy. But when you have somebody who their goal is to either kill you or to torture you with jail or essentially kill you slowly, right? So anyway, this attorney that I talked to yesterday, she said, you know, congratulations for even at this point still being willing to co-parent if it's possible to do safely, because the twins, the 8-year-old twins, they love their father. They want to talk to their father, but because he learned that, you know, let me put it this way, and this is why I was hoping that we'd get to discuss this on your show, is there's parental alienation, and then there are allegations of parental alienation. Both concepts, I believe, are true, right?
Right.
Um, my ex uh, wants there to be parental alienation so bad that he refused to show up to his own visits. He'd end the visits after 5 to 10 minutes. The twins would have to beg him to stay on the visits. And it was very clear to see, oh, this guy's trying to be able to set it up to say, she's keeping me from the kids. I had to
Yeah.
push the kids on him. So
That way,
it's
that way, yes, that way the judge can say, "Oh, you alienated the child from the father, so now we're going to take the children away from you, and we're going to jail you."
yeah,
So this
exactly.
this is a huge setup, and I mean, if a judge can't see that, just like in my case, my ex-husband stood there with a butcher knife, ready to cut me up in pieces, while the children are upstairs, then runs out of the house with one of the kids and then cries that I was going to stab him. Meanwhile, the police took me with metal braces on my arm, my wrist, because I just finished having a serious car accident and broke my wrist. And I'm all bandaged up in a wheelchair. And then like the police are going, "What? What?" And I said, "Yeah. Are you really seriously going to take me to jail?" And they did. They wouldn't even let me take my wheelchair, my cane, nothing. But yet the ex-husband comes back into the house, 225 pounds, um, 5'11", ex-soldier, middle linebacker for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I mean, seriously. And I'm in a wheelchair and they take me knowing that this man literally lied.
Yeah. Well, the
And
term
they rip you from your children. They don't care.
Yeah, the term Darvo, when I learned that term, it just opened my eyes so much. So same situation, my ex is 250 pounds, supposedly a double black belt in martial arts. When I left again, I was 96 pounds. I looked like a Holocaust survivor because I'd been locked in a closet and starved. So
Me
for
too.
him to say, you know, and here's the irony too, and this goes to show that the judge, she doesn't want to hear the truth, right? So in December, he says he wants to reconcile with me, right? But 3 months later, now I'm some big threat to him. I'm this big abuser. He needs protection from me, all this stuff. And it's like, so these judges are not stupid. They know exactly what they're doing and exactly what they're being a part of. And it's not all of them. I don't believe it's all of them. As I stated, I was treated fairly many times. But
Mm.
once you get one of them who is against you and wants you buried or destroyed, these family court judges are essentially given unlimited power, unchecked power, with very clearly no actual meaningful oversight. So, what are we to do? Even when my case is, I hope that my case becomes an example, because nobody could have followed the law, the rules, the evidence, everything. I did everything perfectly correct. And I'm still having the book thrown at me from a trial that I wasn't even at. So it just goes to show, when they want you gone and out of the way, they will do whatever it takes. And then they create a new false record. Now, the
Yeah.
entire case, the focus is on, oh, she made up her illness, she made up her disability. Yes, yes, I made up having emergency surgery. I made up having pneumonia. Let me guess, I faked my x-rays. I mean, it's preposterous. It's literally, it's disgusting. So
It
I
sure is.
I really hope that the people of Seattle and King County, Washington realize that their hard-earned taxpayer dollars are going toward supporting a judge who is trying to jail and punish an adjudicated victim of domestic violence for what? For exposing her fraud and corruption. If the people aren't okay with that, then the people need to speak out, because that is what is on the table tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. That's, I just went through a trial 3 years ago, and the judge that I had just didn't finish doing a hockey team of boys that raped a girl. She was my judge 3 years ago, but she put my kids, adult kids, alienated kids, onto the stand to gaslight me in to protect the abusive ex-husband. She knew he was a rapist. She knew he was, abuser. She knew he was having affairs. She knew he evaded taxes. She knew he did everything and anything to keep those kids from me. And yet she sat there watching these adult children who were alienated for 19 years at the time suffer psychotic episodes on Zoom. Um, they cried suicide. They were depressed. They told her how they cannot sustain a healthy relationship with anyone. If this is how my three alienated children are today, imagine what's going to happen to your children if you go to jail. How long do they want to put you in there for? 10 years. So now 10 years go by, your ex-husband is manipulating these boys, um, to become women haters, women abusers, court fraudulent, um, false allegations. All this abuse is inflicted onto your kids, because that's exactly what was inflicted onto mine. After 19 years, my kids are sitting there that I faked 8 car accidents, that I was fine. I was at home cleaning. I was wallpapering. I was doing, that was my business. Yes. They remember when I was healthy, but when I was down, I became a crackhead alcoholic. So these kids are being taught how to be, making up false allegations as the years go by. Like, why would these kids have anything to do with coming to a family court situation that had nothing to do with them other than support payments? What business is it of my kids to tell a judge that, hey, mom shouldn't be receiving any financial support from our father because he supported us? But they forgot to mention to the judge, I worked my ass off. He was just military with the smallest of pay that anybody could get. And I had to work 3 jobs a day so that we can afford things, so that I could further his education and put the kids into special boarding schools and give them the life of Riley, to only go to prison because I had enough of an abuser and file for a divorce. But this is what they do. You file for a divorce. A woman files for a divorce. She will be tortured and punished for the rest of our lives, because the government looks upon us as Oh, we're supposed to take the abuse. We're supposed to be there cooking, cleaning, raising children and going to work. I don't think so. I mean, this mentality of what's happening to women today, society is really, really wrong. And kudos to the men out there who are doing 50-50 with the wife, the mother of their children. I mean, if you want a divorce, do it amicably. Don't be trashing the mother of your children or the father of your children. It goes both ways, because there are some women who grew up in this violent world being taken away from a parent as well. And that's what happens to our kids,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
When they're
and
taken from a loving parent, they lose the love and end up being criminals. They end up being school shooters, murderers, rapists. I mean, this is scary what the
yeah.
government is conditioning our kids to become once they take us away.
Yeah, or victims themselves. And my here this part is really telling in my opinion. So trial concluded without me on June 10th. Um and my ex's attorney sent the draft final orders to the judge on June 12th. An hour later, my so I saw them, right? I saw how they literally stripped me of everything in those draft orders. So my ex had one of his supervised Zoom visits that day, right? And he looked like he was basically what he was acting like was he had just gotten away with murder. And he tells the kids that he's taking them away from their mom. The twins, they're 8 years old, they start crying. The teenagers kind of, just totally shocked. I mean, he goes to school, he's on the football team. um and so my point is this is what my ex said. Is he said, I'm coming down there to set the record straight. And he says this to the teenager. So what does he mean by that? What he means is, when I get you, I am going to literally twist anything I can to convince you that she's the bad one, this and that. But the truth of the matter is that nobody needs to be the bad one. Like I
No,
said, I've been divorced before. It's possible. And if there was any possibility that I could co-parent with my ex without knowing with certainty that he was going to kill me or kill the children, I'm totally thrilled to do it. Absolutely thrilled to do it. But that's not what he's putting on the table, right? So
right.
it's kind of like they leave you in a position where it's very, Mary, it's very interesting because nothing's black and white. Are there cases where people make false allegations? Sure. In my case, that's what my ex is doing. Are there cases where people make real allegations? Sure. That happens all the time. The judge's job is to get to the bottom of which one is which, but they
And the
don't
police,
want to.
and right, and that's like the police. The police need to investigate before they arrest one person on false allegations. It's the most heinous thing that they could do, is
Yeah.
take an innocent person and put them behind bars and leave the criminal out. Because how many of us have heard, if you leave me, I'll kill you. If you leave
Yeah.
me, I'll kill the children. I mean, when you say that to the police and let them know that these kids are in danger, this is when the police should be listening, not
Yeah.
put the protective, or the one that's protecting the children into prison because somebody, one of these, you know, insecure people start screaming false allegations. This is why there's so many cases out there that people are sitting behind bars. I just finished a case yesterday and set a mother free on 4 false allegations. Like, she was going to prison for things that didn't happen. And it's so cruel to sit there and listen to someone say, the third party or whoever party. It's not you always just the abuser that's, claiming false allegations. They use the kids, they use their mother, they use the brother, sister, you know. But now this case yesterday was the stepson was claiming false allegations at 26. Grow up, kid. Grow up. You've already abused that parent for the last 20 years. And now you want to what? Get revenge because she's still with your father? That's wrong. And
Yeah.
this is, you know, but their mentality is not what if they were with a loving parent. They wouldn't behave like that. They wouldn't need to make up stories. And this is what the world's coming to. We're getting adult people who are living in delusions. They can't tell reality from fiction anymore. uh like that shooter in the United States the other day, that, oh my God, he shot down the church because he was seeing all these things like the
Yeah.
devil and all that. I mean,
Yeah.
why why are we
Well,
damaging children?
I first of all, I have to say I have a severe blood sugar condition, and so I don't mean to. If you
That's
see me
okay.
eat something, I it's a glucose tab. But what I wanted to say though is again, the judge's job is to parse apart or pick apart fact from fiction, right?
Right.
And to look at the evidence. So the fact that the judge held a trial with zero evidence from my side, how can she make that determination? And the fact that she's willing to sign orders making it appear as though there was a full trial, right, is fraud upon the court. And I know why she did that, because anytime, for example, I had a hearing in California, I've had hearings in Washington, I talked to the sheriff. Anytime I say I wasn't at trial, my ex pulls out his orders and he says, yeah, she was. Look, it says she was at trial. And so what she did is she gave my abuser an immediate ability to undermine my credibility to anyone who's not
Absolutely.
willing to look at the actual facts.
Yes. So she's enabling your ex-husband to continue the abuse, post abuse, with false paper.
Yeah.
Because was he there? And if he was there and he's saying you were there, that's perjury on his part too,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So if the judge and your ex-husband are in cahoots with each other, what's that got to say? There's no hope in hell for an innocent person. Because I got proven innocent in criminal court. And then a month later, I went to divorce court and I got condemned in divorce court.
Yes.
Why would a judge go against another judge when you've already been proven innocent?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, you know what, Mary? That's a really, really good point to bring up. Is that I had my judge allowed my ex to relitigate the final findings and final order, and that's not allowed. So I had met with an attorney as part of this DV program, right? And he goes to me, who does this judge think she is? Those orders are final and binding. You need to file a motion in limine to restrict relitigation, right? So I filed that. Again, here I am following the advice of the domestic violence advocates, the domestic violence attorneys. I file that, and they turn that around of, oh, well, she's just scared to talk about it again because she knows she lied. And so again, my case is I really, really know that someday the full truth will come out or whatever, because I literally did everything correct. Um, and the judge won't apply the law. A judge has one job: apply the law. That's it.
mhm.
That's their one job, right? And when they don't apply the law, what happens? It goes to the Court of Appeals if someone appeals, and the Court of Appeals decides, did they apply the law? But this judge doesn't want that to happen. That's why this is the third time now where she wants me jailed or whatever, so that, you know what, so that I can't finally go and have my appeal or have the truth come out. So, the attorney that I talked with yesterday, said this. She said, sadly, most of what this judge did to you is legal, right? Except for she held trial without you and signed orders stating you were there. So I feel very confident that the Court of Appeals is going to determine that she did not apply the law, and they're going to order a new trial under a new judge. So that's why they are dead set on getting the kids away from me and flipped and turned. They have immediate things, plans set up or whatnot to set the record straight and all this kind of stuff. And why? Because they want to get the damage done before the truth can come out. And you have to ask yourself, why would a judge? I mean, my ex is not some special guy. You think to yourself, why would someone want to do this? I have a few theories, and my ex's attorney calls me a conspiracy theorist, right? But the first one is that my ex's parents are multi-millionaires who are extremely um, passionate of, I call it the radical left. And what I mean by that, and I don't mean to bring politics in, but I'll just say this. A wolf is a wolf is a wolf. I don't care if you're on the left, the right, the up, down, whatever you are. If you are an evil, lying, law breaking wolf and you put yourself in sheep's clothing and pretend to be some saint, that's wrong, right? And so my
There is.
ex's parents, I remember my ex's dad, they're Dutch, very, very heavy Dutch accent. And he says to me, "What are you calling me, a salon socialist?" And I said, "Yeah, that's what you are. You're claiming to be this, oh, I care about equality and peace and the women and the children and the poor and the hungry, while you're sitting there in your ivory tower destroying the very people that you say that you care about." So my one theory is, I mean, legitimately, since it is possible, this judge could be paid off by his
Oh
extremely
yeah.
wealthy parents, um, or she could just be a really awful person who's trying to not be found out for her fraud and misconduct. I don't know which one it is. I don't really care. All I'm asking for is for the law to be applied. I don't need any special treatment. And if somebody came to me after a full and impartial hearing or trial and they said to me, "Melissa, what your ex did to you, lock you in a closet, starve you, abuse you, sexually assault you, that's not abuse. That was fine. You know what? At least I will have done everything in my power and tried." But a judicial officer said, "No, that's not okay. That is abuse."
That
But
is abuse.
this judge doesn't agree. And that's why she needs to completely flip the script. And so I guess, I look to the public hopefully to say, look, if the law says that holding a gun at against someone's head and sexually assaulting them is illegal, if the law says that sexually assaulting someone who's unconscious while they're in a hypoglycemic coma is illegal, and this judge is saying, well, too bad, I don't think it is. I really hope, I really, really hope that this judge is removed from the bench immediately, because there's something really sick and twisted. And what's sad is that when you read her bio, it's like, oh, I used to interview victims of war crime, and I, represented these people. And when you read, she's a wolf in sheep's clothing, and
That
she
is
needs to be
horrific.
removed.
Truly horrific for a woman to go and say stuff like that. And you know and that's truly what we I don't want to use the word narcissistic, but you could see the real narcissism in there, where she hides all that abuse in the closed courtroom because no one's allowed in there, right? So she treats you like garbage, but yet she steps out of the courtroom and she's helping this one, this one, this one, this one, who are in the same position as you.
Yeah, but she
What
likes
makes
them.
that any different? Because your ex-husband and his lawyer is paying her off? Because that's what happened in my case too.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
judge, conflict of interest was the lawyer's family, his lawyer's family, and then to condemn me. after a criminal judge freed me. And then this criminal judge became a divorce judge overnight, within hours, within hours, for the first time ever.
I
Um,
believe that, Mary, because I'll tell you this, that 3 days after I got granted my emergency protection order in King County, Washington, 3 days after, this judge, Rania Rampersad, was appointed with no election, nothing, just appointed instantly by former Governor Jay Inslee in Washington, and was immediately transferred into my dissolution case. And so it's not a conspiracy theory if it's a conspiracy. There's a really big difference. And of
there
course,
is.
gaslighting someone and saying, oh, you sound crazy. Oh, this is an example of Miss Strawn's mania. No, like again, if you're, it's like, this is what I think about my ex's attorney. If you're that certain that the facts and the law are on your side, then why are you afraid of having an actual trial where my evidence is looked at? Why
Right.
are you afraid to have my witnesses or my sworn testimony or an unbiased judge? And what's really concerning, Mary, is that all throughout the last year, my ex's attorney pounded the pavement with save it for trial, save it for trial, save it for trial every single time. It was case closed. The verdict at trial, or not verdict, but you know what I mean, the outcome of trial, it was a fixed game. It was
Yeah,
a
it's so
no win
long.
situation. So
Right. Well, that's like my judge. You said your judge got promoted 3 days after my judge, the criminal judge that was acting as a divorce judge, got promoted to supernumerary judge a week after my case, the only case he took. So he gets to, get paid, he gets promoted, and he's 15 minutes from my house.
yeah, well, you say, it's interesting because the when they're okay, I just want to say this. Almost every single time I email the court, this judge, this her bailiff, I get a message saying she's on vacation, she's out of the office, she's on leave, the court is on recess. And I'm
She's
thinking to
scared of
myself,
you.
and here's the other thing. We had a hearing on October 3rd that I had canceled properly. I get on her email, it says that the court is in recess till October 6th. Yet what? She comes out of recess to force a hearing that I had canceled, that I had scheduled and then canceled. So it's weird, Mary. It's like, what are you literally only taking? Is this all about my case? I
Yeah,
mean, what? I don't get it. It's weird.
it is. It is. They're fixated on you, is
Yeah.
what they are,
Well, I
right?
think that's the other thing is that there was this very, very contentious bill in Washington called HB 1620. The Washington Association of Judges sponsored the bill. All the DV orgs that get millions of dollars in Violence Against Women's Act funding, supported this bill. But the survivors were screaming, no, no, no. Why? Because HB 1620 removed mandatory restrictions for victims of domestic violence and replaced it with judicial discretion. And I spoke out against that bill because I said, look what my judge is doing. She's abusing her discretion. So if we get rid of mandatory restrictions and it's all for judicial discretion, what do you do when your judge is abusing their discretion? Well, come to find out that my judge, Judge Rampersad, and her boss, Judge Sean O'Donnell, Chief UFC Judge in King County Superior Court, they were both two of the biggest champions of HB 1620, essentially solidifying their own unchecked power. Because when everything is based on judicial discretion, you don't have an appeal, right? I mean,
Right.
yeah, once in a while, the Court of Appeals will say, okay, they abuse their discretion. But to get a guaranteed appeal, you need to show that the judge misapplied the law. So, again, it's so clear cut, it's so easy to see that the only people who won't see it are the people who refuse to see it because it doesn't support what they're trying to do. So, you know,
No.
What's really scary though is I'll tell you, I had withdrawn my motion to appoint counsel, public defense for the contempt, and she held a hearing that I had canceled, and she appointed counsel anyway, even though I withdrew my request. And now that I've gotten an email from the public defender last night, I think I know why. The essentially the public defender writes me a message. She hasn't talked to me yet, hasn't reviewed all my stuff yet, and she tells me, "Well, essentially you're in contempt." I'm like, "Wait a second. Where's my defense? What's the point of having a public defender if they're not even ready to defend you?" So
Right.
the corruption goes so deep that I look at it like this, and I have developed quite a faith over the last several years. I look at it like this: God, if I'm meant to go to jail, then let it backfire big time. Let it be used to expose the corruption. Let it be used to expose the fraud, because I have truly done everything in my power. I truly have. And you know what's really heartbreaking and sad though is, again, for a mom who's ready and willing to co-parent, um, these kids are going to be put in danger, right?
Yes.
And you look at the Decker case, the Travis Decker case in Washington, where this mom begged the court for supervised visitation and they denied it. And then on the first unsupervised visitation, the guy kills all three of his daughters, right?
Yeah.
And so again, the judge is supposed to figure out which allegations are true, which allegations are false, by looking at the evidence. But if they refuse to look at the evidence, and then they put three innocent children in harm's way, that is a dangerous abuse of power. And I have called on Governor Bob Ferguson, governor of Washington, take a look at this before three children are potentially killed or harmed. Because I'll tell you this, I will do everything I can to protect them. I've never even refused to hand them over. I simply filed for and got granted a protection order. But if these kids are forcibly taken by the police, or taken once they put me in jail, and they are killed or harmed, I mean, sound the effing alarm. But even if
Yes.
they're not harmed immediately, Mary, it's like you're saying, over years of mental harm, of having them told that their mom's a liar, or their mom's sick, or their mom doesn't want them, or whatever it is. Either way, it's guaranteed harm. And even one of my sons, he's autistic and has separation anxiety, and his ABA therapist had submitted a letter saying that doing a custody flip after 3 years would cause him immediate harm. She doesn't care. She doesn't care. Literally doesn't care.
Mhm.
So I don't I don't know what else to do other than to go public like this. That's why I appreciate shows like yours, where all we could do is to continue to speak the truth and hope and pray that eventually someone looks into it, or enough of us come together, because I don't know what the answer is. I really don't.
We're all stuck because, after being alienated from my own children for 20 years now, to receive messages from them to go kill myself like I was intended to, why would my kid send that? And my boy in the Royal Canadian Navy sends me I mean, I can't even say the word, what he says to me. And I'm thinking, you go out and help all these strangers out in the world, and yet I raised you for 18 years.
Yeah.
And this is what I get. This is the thanks I get, because his father abused him, calling him gay and all this. So now he's seeking attention from the father. So he harmed me. He abuses me. All these false allegations of him, that he brought me to court after 19 years. And I'm thinking, where is all this coming from? And I know half of the stuff that they say is what they've done to me.
Yeah.
And that's only to hurt me because they know they were the wrong at that time. but their father made them, say things the opposite, because that's what they do. They
Yeah.
project all the pain and suffering onto you because they suffered. They didn't suffer. I mean, we were there to cook, clean, polish their shoes, iron their uniforms. I took burn marks to the arms when I put railroad tracks on his pants, his military pants. Well, why am I ironing your stuff? So when he put the iron to me, I said, you know what? Do it yourself. Don't expect me to do anything for you anymore. You're not a child. And the more I gave him his own work to do, the more worse he treated me,
Yeah.
because I wasn't there to dote on him like a mother. You want a mother? Go back to your mother. And, when he had me falsely arrested, he told the judge I could go back and live with my mother. She was 73 at the time. And I'm thinking, who are you to tell me who to go live with when I built this house, raised these kids, and put you through the most top education so you could get good jobs?
Well,
You know,
I think that my ex is a perfect example of how kids turn out when there's mistreatment at home.
mine
My
too.
ex, think about it this way: his parents are 75 and 80 years old. What did I do with the wildfire? I had the kids call them, right? I had the kids call them over and over and over. His mother hung up on our teenager and said, I'm not talking to you. You've been brainwashed. It's like, wait a second, let me get this straight. He called you. We had him call you. He's being respectful. He's being kind. He's being nice. But you hung up on your own grandson. So, what's very weird, and I see this division in the circuit community and the family court corruption community, is on this topic of parental alienation, where there's this difference between, again, and I've experienced, I wanted to share, I have experienced some form of being an alienated parent before for almost a year. My now 19-year-old, same thing. And, he came to me, he said, Mom, I don't know who to believe. Dad's saying this, blah, blah, blah. You're saying that. I said, honey, I am not here to tell you what the truth is, or what, I'm not here to report on your dad or anything. I said, just do what works best for you. You're an adult, and, just pay attention. I told him over and over, pay attention. Well, eventually he comes back and he's like, wow, I realized that dad was using me. You know, I realized that that wasn't the truth. And so let me just say this for any kid out there, who's now an adult, who has been alienated from a parent. Um, there's healing possible and available, and you have to ask yourself, you're either moving toward peace or you're moving toward conflict. And
Mm,
any adult, I don't care, alienated or not, or abused or not, any adult who's willing to say those vile and vicious things to their mother when it's uncalled for. What's always uncalled for? You don't tell your mother to kill themselves. I mean, there's
no,
no excuse for that. So, again, ask yourself, are we moving toward peace? Are we moving to conflict? And it's very, very easy. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see which one is which, right? And the only people who are not seeing it are the ones who are refusing to see it because it's not fitting their agenda. So, um,
that's right.
yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy. Like I said, I don't know what the answer is, but I am very grateful for the conversation being had. I'm very grateful for that.
Oh, okay. Um, okay, this is, let's see if we could get you back. Oh dear, we had
I
some
think it's,
interference here.
is it
I got
okay
a
now?
phone call, so it interfered. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where we're at right now. I guess we'll find out tomorrow. I think my case is extra complex because it involves two states. Um, and we'll see what happens. But like I said, all I could do is the best I can do. I love my kids tremendously. Um, and I really, really hope and pray that this kind of corruption is rooted out It doesn't belong in modern society. Um, what's interesting is that again, you have these people who are speaking out against tyranny and all this kind of stuff, but then they go behind closed doors and they're doing the exact same thing. So I really hope and pray this judge recuses herself, because what's the risk in that? Can't you just let another judicial officer look at the evidence, right?
That's
What's
right.
the harm in that? What's the harm in that, right?
Exactly. And that's why they don't do it, is because they don't want someone who isn't corrupt
Yes.
to see something to fix it. I
Yes,
mean,
yes,
like,
yes.
really?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not blind. We
Yeah.
see everything you're doing, because even in my case, Justice Taylor in 2005, 2 days before Christmas, called the ex-husband a conniving, scheming, manipulative liar, and had no doubt he set his wife up. But he gets the house and kids and don't pay support until the house sells. And I
Yeah.
get a phone call.
Yeah.
I raised
Yeah.
these kids for 18 years and I get a phone call, but yet he called out the ex-husband as a, because, and like the whole excerpts are just full, full of fraud.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
yet, and yet they get away with it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
seriously. So what we recommend that people, when they get their court documents and they're going through what are going through, what I went through 20 years ago, you're going through it today. And that should not happen. But what we
Yeah.
need to do is get people to read the excerpts and read between the lines and catch it right away. Because the
Yeah.
longer you wait, there's not going to be any more appealing. There's not going to be any hope in hell for anyone to fix it, to correct it. Once you lose your child, you'll never get them back. And that's what these courts are
Exactly.
doing. They're
Yes.
doing it
That's
so
what
you
they're
keep
trying to do.
coming. They keep
Yeah.
coming back to court because that's money. When I had
Yes.
my trial, the judge said in 2019, if you go to trial, it's going to cost one of you $175,000. And I'm thinking, well, it
Yeah.
ain't going to cost me none, because I now have a new judge that can see the evidence.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it turned out to be Justice Caraccia, who literally let 5 hockey players go free, and a young woman condemned, called a liar, called this, called that, because she laid down with these boys. Are you serious? You're a woman, you're a mother. What if that happened to your daughter?
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
what happened to my daughter. My daughter wrote me to go kill myself, but then she writes, what, you don't think I got molested or raped? Whoa, where's this coming from now? Like, Justice Taylor allowed you to get raped, molested. This is what judges are making our daughters locked into these situations, because there's traffickers out there. They
Yeah.
know who's coming out of a courtroom with a child and how old that child is, and whether it's a girl or a boy. They're going to target those kids and put them through hell so that they will not speak to you, because they're going to make the kids say, oh, your mom or your dad made me do this. No, it's the judges that are making these predators abuse our children. And this is why they want us locked up. They got another thing coming.
Yeah. Well, and you see it with these different it's what's sad is because I just saw a story about a judge who, I mean, literally the allegations or evidence said that he was like even abusing like sexually assaulting
Baby.
babies. It was disgusting. But you know what's sad is that for every one corrupt judge that they catch, look at how many are going on not caught, right? So
Right.
um, again,
I
it's
mean,
like if
who
you have,
rapes a baby? Who in
yeah,
the mental, it's men with small penises that are in high demand for these babies,
oh my
because
gosh,
they don't feel anything with a woman.
oh my
you know
gosh,
so they're using children. I mean, I had a girlfriend here where I live. Her own husband killed their 2 month old baby girl by having sex with it. The insides came out. He got 30 years in
oh
prison. He's out now. But to have the thought of that man being out there after he killed his own child, having
yeah,
sex with it, I mean, this is like, I pray to God that the Lord will come down and give us some help, because we're stuck. We
yeah,
like the perverted minds out there, and the government is trying to normalize pedophilia, give them a month praise, like a month a year to go out and say, hey, we're pedophiles. Like, whoa, wait a minute here.
Oh
Shouldn't
my
you all
God.
be put into like Alcatraz or something?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
It's
it,
heartbreaking.
it's heartbreaking. Well, we're past the hour and 10 minutes here. Um, Give us a lowdown on tomorrow, what you're facing.
Yeah, here's what I'm facing. It's my understanding that this is called civil contempt. It's coercive contempt, meaning that the purpose of putting me in jail is not at this stage punitive. I'm not being criminally charged with or custodial interference. It's coercive contempt, which means that the specific purpose of ordering me to jail would be to get me out of the way so that they can take the children, put them in the hands of my abuser, and so that they can get away. Get this, I forgot to say, tomorrow this judge has the power to appoint a special master who can sign the deed to my sole and separate home that's in my name only. So really, they want me in jail so that they can get away with stealing my house, kidnapping the children, getting rid of all of my belongings, taking the car. I mean, literally to destroy me. And I want to point out one other thing. My ex, I told you, I've been divorced once before. So has my ex. His ex-wife, I don't even think she's still alive. It was the same playbook, right? My ex and I still chat on the phone once in a while, and the kids are fine and adults. Again, all it would take is to look at the facts and the evidence. In my opinion, my ex will reoffend. He'll keep going.
Oh, yeah.
He'll keep going. The question is this judge going to allow him to harm the kids in the process as part of that? Because he doesn't give a shit about them. I wish he did. As I said, I tried to push them on him. So tomorrow, again, order me to jail so that I'm out of the way so that they can commit their crimes without me here. Again, I'm in California. I don't think any police officer from Washington is going to drive down. I doubt that they're going to extradite me for a coercive contempt. But the real thing that they want to do is to destroy me bit by bit so that I either give up, go away, or drop dead.
Or
Um,
die.
the other
Yeah.
thing I'm facing tomorrow is they want to remove the protection that I've had for almost 3 years. Okay, so that does scare me. But let me say this: I'm going into this thing with good spirits. I know I've done everything I could. I can't save the world myself, but I can try and fight for truth and justice. So if somebody's heard something here today that tells them that that's not right, that's not okay, call the Washington governor, Bob Ferguson. Call him up and say, hey, this doesn't sound right. Can you look into this? I mean, all I can do is try. So I appreciate that. I'll keep you posted. I'll have someone in my network have your contact info so they can update you on what happens. But the hearing is
Okay.
tomorrow, 2 p.m. Pacific time, October 10th, in King County Superior Court. So thank you
Do you have
so
a good,
much for having me.
do you have a support team out there with you going in?
Well, it's not in person, it's over Zoom. And I
Oh,
have
okay.
shared the link. So as it is a public hearing that people can log on. This judge has been known though to kick my observers off in the past. So I will share the link so that
Yes,
your viewers
Sharon.
can log on to the hearing.
Okay, I'd love to be there for you.
Thank you, Mary. Take care.
You're welcome. Well, Melissa, thank you so much for sharing this horrifying story. I mean, wow. I never thought I'd see another person get falsely arrested or even taken because, they're raising their children properly. The last 20 years have really opened up my eyes, and I'm hoping that people out there are opening up their eyes to knowing that I've been here every day for 20 years looking for my kids, to only run into people like you, thousands and thousands, and we have such good people that are trying to change the system, like Dr. Jennifer Harmon, Dr. Mark Roseman. We got lawyers, Jean Coleman from Toronto. We got Brian Ludmer. We got so many people out there that are saying to judges, come on, equal share parenting, stop before the kids get damaged. So we're praying for you for tomorrow and hope for a good outcome. So you're welcome. Thank you. Like this, so I'm here for you. So thanks to all the people out there that are viewing. You can always find Melissa and help her on a GoFundMe page. Melissa, you still
Yeah,
gotta.
yeah. It's www.gofundme.com/Melissa Strawn, spelled like straw with an N at the end. I would appreciate any support so that I can keep fighting with my appeal. And just know, Mary, that, no matter what happens tomorrow, you have a fellow warrior in this battle, because I'm not shutting up or going away anytime soon.
Good for you. Good for you. And that's what we need. We need strong parents to never give up. I mean, this is what's going, that's what they want us to do, is to give up so that the next person will start from where we began 20 years prior or 10 years prior. We don't want that. We want someone to tag team and keep going and keep going and keep going. So this is new parents out there that are losing their children. Grab onto someone that needs help and help them so they can help you. Never give up out there. So thank you everyone for tuning in on Let's Talk Real Talk on parent alienation and intimate partner violence enabled by the family court corruption. We all see now that judges, bad lawyers, guardian ad litem, I mean, Office of the Children in Ontario, I mean, they're all in cahoots. And they're going to be taking your children, your money, your home and assets if you don't play it right. Get educated and be smart. Good day, everyone. Thank you for
Thank you,
tuning
Mary.
in. You're welcome.